For example, she was not very happy at all because the consultant who helped her, he didn't rise to greet her, he didn't extend his hand to her. She thought it might be because she was a woman.
She personalized that reaction. And whether that's a casual technique that the sales counselors found effective in the Lexus store or something different, she took it as a negative. And sometimes that interpretive process between the salesperson and the customer, you just don't know how it's interpreted. You have to assume an excellent and a high standard and aim for that.
Well, there are some big differences. For instance, when prospects walk into a Lexus store, sales consultants know they're shopping for a luxury car, but Lincoln Mercury stores have a broader product offering, ranging from the Tracer to the Mark 8. It's a different ballgame.
It is, and it's a real challenge on the Lincoln Mercury sales counselor. But there are a couple of things that are happening here. When you look at this meet and greet part, you have to ask yourself, well, Lexus has a closing ratio twice the average of Lincoln closing ratios. Is what we're seeing here the beginning of a casual technique that seems to work for predisposed luxury buyers? The Lincoln counselor definitely has to figure out very quickly by asking the customer, are they a Tracer or a Mark 8 buyer from their wants and needs?
Let's move on to determining the customer's reasons for buying.
When a customer is out looking at a product, it's not to buy just the product itself for what it is. It's what it does. And that's an explanation process. It's not just a walk around of features and benefits in a spiel. It's an interactive process of the customer trying to get information, specific information that they want. They're motivated for several reasons. It could be safety. It could be a new product. It could be the styling cues. It could be that they've decided to give an American product a chance. All of those things represent a challenge to the sales counselor in a Lincoln store.
Okay. Let's look at the next competitive shopper videotape segment. This time, the group is discussing how the Lexus sales consultants determined their reasons for buying.
Once the salesperson actually came and we started to interact, I felt a warm feeling from him.
Because of the questions he asked?
Well, yeah, the questions he asked. One thing that he said that made me feel good is he wanted to make sure I was, kind of looking between the 2 and the 4-door. And he said, well, I want to make sure that the 2-door, that was the one I was preferencing, that was the right car for me. And, he was concerned about that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, that's important that customers get that feeling. I don't know, it made me feel good.
The thing that I noticed most of all was that it seemed like I was leading the conversation at all times. While he did ask some open-ended questions, they did not seem to be the type of questions that were being used to lead me down the path that he wanted to travel. It seemed more that I was, he was available for me. Also, early on in the conversation, there was a sense of pride in his product.
He listened to my needs, and he keyed on them from that.
That he was a good listener, and that he respond to the things, and that were genuine concerns to me.
Doing that, he had to be very acutely interested in what I was saying so that he could pick up a buying signal or something I was interested in and be able to expound upon that or illuminate it as necessary. So I guess the interplay was a lot more human. And there again, made me feel very good.
The counseling and his listening to me as far as what the things that I had mentioned as we were talking on the showroom and in the demo drive, just listening to, pulling out exactly what my needs were, and then kind of selecting, for him selecting the best vehicle that fit my needs.
I believe, bottom line, that the salesperson got more information from me by being laid back and more of an information provider and more at my service than he would have trying to lead me on some sort of a sales type track.
Okay, Jay, covered a lot of territory here. What are the most important things we should learn from what we just heard?
Well, it's clear that individuals want to connect with somebody who has knowledge about the products and services.
Specifically, though, what kinds of questions should our sales consultants ask to find out their reasons for buying?
A luxury buyer, our research shows, wants questions that get to, first, their needs. And those questions were mentioned by some of the experts. 2, they want questions that are clarifying and help convince them in a factual way of what's going on. And 3, there are all the motivation questions. But the ones that really matter in the luxury market in the 1990s are, what makes a difference to you with this product?
So what about the answers to those questions? How do they affect how you as the sales consultant present the car?
You know, one way you might think of it is the carpenter's rule, where you measure twice and cut once. Mm-hmm. Here, the sales counselor ought to listen twice and then ask once, and make sure those clarifying questions really get to true needs of the customer. Start to connect with that individual.
Okay. Well, let's see if that's what the Lexus consultants did as we look at our shoppers' discussion of the product presentation. In this video clip, they're discussing how the sales consultants presented the car in both the walk-around and the demo drive.
On the LS400, it got so many little bells and whistles, you know, it was almost impossible for me to recognize these things. So he was very important that he showed me these things.
He did show me that there was a full spare, there was an emergency kit in the trunk, and a tool kit, which I was appreciative of that, because I think that's more important to women. Maybe, you know, emergency kits, things like that are important, whether it be women or men. You should know about everything.
I think he about touched every button on the dash. Whether I responded or not dictated whether he spoke or not.
It made me feel great because he knew his product. He knew what I wanted. He knew about the car.
One of the most impressive things was the attitude of pride in the product.
We took a nice long test drive. He took me out on the freeway and he says, drive this car as if it was your own. And we took it out on the freeway, and he showed me the benefits and the power.
He asked me if I had time and if I would give him the permission that he had a factory car from Lexus that they had purchased with about 38,000 miles on it that he had driven home that night. And if I would take that for a ride so he could demonstrate to me how tight the car still was at 38,000 miles.
He did say, he said, if you'd like to have a car for an afternoon, if you want to take one home, show your wife on your own time, he said, we can provide a vehicle for you.
The demonstration drives that I had received, I believe, were the essence of the selling situation. That is where the salesman actually did let the car do the selling, because the car was doing what the car does. It was not just sitting there, and he was not just telling me about it. It also gave him another chance to show an interest in what I needed.
All right, there you have the walk around and the demo drive. How does it appear they did?
Well, these customers want specific information, so that's a listening skill. We've talked a little bit about that. Definitely, the product knowledge has to be specific and tailored to the things that make a difference to the customer. And certainly the demonstration ride is increasingly important to luxury shoppers.
Expand a little bit, if you would, on this idea of the demo drive, this very important phase.
There's a lot of information given casually in terms of what a customer wants during a demo drive. Some customers will come back to a luxury store 3 and 4 times asking to drive the product. And increasingly, we're seeing a demo by osmosis. May I take that vehicle home and understand it, not just from a feature and a benefit, but really the totality of the vehicle. Let me have it for a weekend or 2 or 3 days. It's an important part of the sales process nowadays.
From what we heard earlier, it's quite clear that these luxury car buyers expect the sales consultant to know about their product. What about the competition? What should we expect them to know about the other guy's product?
The luxury shoppers will be looking at 3 or 4 other luxury makes. They will want to know positive product comparisons and service comparisons with competitors.
All right, Jay. Well, let's see how the Lexus sales consultants did. In this video clip, our competitive shoppers are discussing how the Lexus sales consultants handled their interest in competitive cars, including the Mark VIII.
He didn't shop the competition, you know, didn't cut the competition down, so I thought that was, you know, he did that well.
Never said, well, the Cadillac does this, or the Lincoln does this, or the Infiniti does this. Never once said their names. He always just kept coming back to saying, the Lexus has got this, and the Lexus has got this.
The Lincoln, when he compared the Lincoln, he told me about his experience with Lincoln, did not put any weights on it, whether it was good or bad. Told me that I would like the vehicle, that it was a fine vehicle, but it was not a Lexus. And there he was again, boasting about it, boasting about his car without really boasting about it, or without really getting into any negative points about somebody else's car.
Well, what we were talking about is engine size, horsepower, and then we were comparing it with the Mark VIII and the 929, which he knew down to the T. He knew what size engine the Mark VIII had, what horsepower, what liter. He also knew the horsepower and the liter and the horsepower in the 929.
I told him that I had test drove the Acura and the Saab, and of course right away he told me neither one of those were luxury cars, so we couldn't compare those.
All right, Jay, what about knowing about your competition? How important is that?
It's very important in the luxury market. The shoppers define what they want, and we know from surveys that they're looking at 3 or 4, sometimes 5 other luxury makes. So they've done some comparison shopping. They're aggressive. They're looking for positive comparisons. And I'll tell you, it's at your own peril if you insult that shopper by saying something, oh, you didn't look at luxury makes. You ignore the customer and their needs, it's at your own peril.
Who brings up the whole idea of the competition? Do you do that, or does the shopper do that?
This is one of those areas where the customer is probably already in 2 or 3 dealerships, so the sales counselor can assume that they've seen other makes. They can ask that question and get into the process, but really it's back to that listening skill. What things on this product make a difference to you right now? We've been talking over and over again about this whole idea of relationship with the customer. Elaborate on that. Just why is that so crucial? Well, the relationship begins in the showroom. The customer has made some choice. They had over 300 individual models to choose from, and they're in one of 3 or 4 dealerships looking at a model. That's the beginning of a relationship. There's some need there. It's the sales counselor's responsibility to begin to find that need and hopefully show how this product fits that need. Okay, Jay. Of course, you don't build a relationship with one visit to a dealership, but let's see what happened at the end of our shoppers' visits. In this clip from the roundtable discussion, they are discussing any attempts to close the sale or follow up on the initial meeting.
Then she became good friends, you know. It's like close up to me then, you know. And she followed me out the door all the way to my car, walked me out to my car, which I thought was very nice.
What did she say? Do you remember?
She said that she's going to make contact with me within the next week or 2 to see what my decision is at the time.
Okay.
I told her that would be fine.
I said, this is definitely a vehicle here for consideration. And I said, I'll get back in touch with you. And then he said, well, we'd certainly like to, we'd certainly like to earn your business. He said, just, give me a call. Here's my card.
He gave me the impression that he was there to give me information to make a decision versus trying to sell me on something that he had been sold on. And I guess the proof was in the pudding when he said, check with your accountant, and if this works for you, it'll be great.
I had told him that what the car I was looking for, he had it on the lot. He said it was available. He didn't ask me for any type of deposit to hold it or first right of refusal again.
Well, he also told me about at this dealership, it's not how they take care of you up front, but also in the back.
Standing on a showroom floor with my coat on still, I asked him, well, how much is it? And that's when he asked me, well, are you intending on leasing or buying? And I said, well, I'd probably buy this one. I said, but unless you have an attractive lease. And he just started to blurt numbers out, standing right there.
The fact that I was never asked to make a buying decision or never discuss price went a long way in lending credibility to this person's pride in his product. Had I been told, I have a great product, you'll love my product, and then 10 minutes later been put into a hard close, I think I would have shied away and said, what's wrong with this guy's product? Why does he have to try so hard to get me to buy it right now if it's so good?
Well, it looks like none of our shoppers was closed on a Lexus today.
It doesn't sound like any of them are going to buy a Lexus today. Yeah. But there's a lesson there. Most luxury shoppers do not buy in the first visit anyway. The customers who've gotten information will come back.
Were you surprised that even when Chris pointed out that they had the car right there that he wanted to buy, that there was no real attempt to close the sale?
In a sense, I was. But remember, the frame of reference has to constantly be shifting. The customer is taking control of the marketplace. There isn't a dedicated sequence to say, are you a today buyer anymore? The customer's defining, is the time right?
How about the whole idea of discussing price? When is the best time to bring that up? Who does bring that up, you or the customer?
There's always a question of who goes first. The customer will define when it is. In one of the videos where the salesperson got to that awkward moment and started blurting numbers, the customer at that point was losing the impact of all of the value sell that had come before. It isn't a numbers or even a budgeted. These are qualified, informed experts. They'll take the lead on when the price is going to come up. They're probably comparison shopping, but they still can be approached from the value sell.
Mike said that he felt really good when the sales consultant actually walked him out to the car. Is this something that these luxury car buyers have come to expect?
Luxury car buyers do expect that. Remember, that's the personal service element of it. But for Lincoln, there's a new type of buyer in there that's trying to be attracted because of the Mark VIII. And walking out or doing those extra things gives the customer permission to be there, permission to talk about the product, permission, if they buy the product, to be proud about it in their own home with their neighbors. So it really is an important personal service element.
Okay, what then, based on all of this, would you spell out specific recommendations for our sales consultants?
Listen to the customer. It is an individual talking who wants to interact with information. Now listen to those words. Listen, information, interact, individual. All of those matter because the customer has taken over the sales process. It's not selling to, it's reversed, it's buying from. The other way of thinking of it is the sales counselor's job is not to sell to, but is to make sure that a customer buys from. The dealership experience, the sales counselor experience matters a lot.
If this were a dance, you'd let the customer lead.
Definitely, the customer is leading. And if they don't feel that way, they're going to walk out and they'll never come back to that dealership or that showroom.
Okay, Jay. Well, in addition to looking at these specific areas, we asked our shoppers for their overall impressions of their experience. As you listen to how they felt, think about whether Lexus is living up to its reputation.
I've had my experience with the Lexus. I can say, hey, look, our car can compete. Our car can compare. I will be able to say my experiences from the ride and drive and now again with the showroom that we can compete in every area.
Even if the customer likes the Lexus better, he's going to buy the person that was nicest to him. Let's say 9 out of 10 you'll buy from the person you like, maybe more than you like the car.
It's true. It's a big key today. You have to sell yourself.
You have to sell yourself, sell your dealership,
we know we have a good
and
product.
the car.
Okay,
Yeah, there's
we do.
good product is all over.
Yes.
Lexus is a good product.
Yep.
Lincoln's a good product. You know, Mercedes, BMW, they're all
They're
good products.
good products, so.
And so it's getting back to the salesperson again.
Who's going to show the benefits and the features?
That's right. Who's going to care the most?
I don't think the car compares with ours. I think we have a better value car. I think we have a car that's built as well, and better safety features. 5-mile-an-hour impact bumpers as opposed to 2.5-mile. That's twice the national average. Anti-lock brakes, 4-channel, dual airbags, the safety cage built through the car, the high steel beams through the doors and so forth, the crush zones in front. I mean, it's just numerous, and these are things that people do not know, and you must tell them the story. It's as simple as that. They've got to know the product, know the story. It'll sell the car. The Mark VIII certainly has a price advantage, tremendous price advantage, and you also have a very competitive car. There's really not much lacking. Toys, like the moving steering wheel, yes, that to me is a toy.
But the interior room, yeah, there's no room in the car. They have to have the automatic steering wheel to get out of your way, because otherwise you can't get in and out of the car.
It did have a lot more wind noise than I anticipated. And she said, well, I said, man, that's a lot of wind noise. She goes, well, it's a very windy day outside.
That's why this fella kept playing the radio rather loudly.
One thing I found uncomfortable was having to reach for the seat belt. I found that in the Lexus, you had to do a real, body twist to get to it. Or I think in the Mark, I guess the B-pillar is closer, so it's easier to get to in the Mark.
Also, the hood, being now that's a fiber compound,
Right, that's right.
won't take any type of rusting or stone chips like a regular steel hood
And our
would.
grill. And our grill also.
And also their lights are down on the grill. You get in a small accident and you've lost your lights. Or the Mark, you've got a bumper. So I mean, there's a lot of benefits to the Mark. And if you want to compare car for car, I don't see anybody can buy a Lexus.
They're falling short of the Mark, so to say. Pun intended. And now we have an opportunity to, if we do all the right things, we'll sell more cars than they will.
So then, Jay, what's your reaction to all of this? I mean, with the Lexus, certainly there is this perception of excellence. Is it justified?
Well, the product matters a lot in this market to luxury buyers, and particularly new products. They want to find out information about it and what makes a difference. But it's not product alone. I mean, that's what you're hearing on this tape is sales counselors talking about they know they make a difference in the overall delivery of value to customers.
So selling the Mark 8 against the Lexus shouldn't be this big intimidating experience. Certainly on their part, there was no inferiority complex in terms of product.
There is a value sell message that can come through in the Lincoln showroom. 70% of what leads to sales satisfaction in the showroom is people related, how information is delivered. That matters a lot. Perceptions about Lincolns will change because of the Mark 8. The question is, will the people change as the customers do too? Will they change as quickly? That's an individual issue.
So what then is important in terms of presenting the Mark 8 to the Lexus shopper?
Well, clearly remember that these are individuals. They're aggressive, active shoppers who are looking at lots of luxury brands. They want information, they have high expectations, and they're going to demand to lead.
So what message does this send Lincoln Mercury sales consultants?
Know your competition, because the customer probably knows it better right now. Make sure that you don't forget the value message of it, not just one feature and a benefit, but really the entire value and the image of the product they're getting. That matters a lot.
It sounds then that these buyers would like to be courted.
Well, remember, we've talked about a very wide band of income levels and age, and you're trying to establish a relationship with those individuals. So one technique is to interview those people. They're very interesting, and they feel self-important. So get some facts about them to work to find the specific benefits that matter to them. Use the product knowledge. It's not just for memory's sake, but for what makes a difference to the customer. And definitely follow up. That follow-up starts in the showroom, but it goes out to the lot. It also continues through the demonstration ride and into the beginning of a relationship with a Mark 8 owner.
All right, Jay, we'll leave it with that. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Now, for more information on selling the Mark 8 against Lexus, there are a number of materials available at your dealership. You may refer to the Mark 8 versus the Lexus SC400 videotape and the 1993 Mark 8 Competitive Comparison Guide and the Mark 8 Product and Marketing Guide. I hope this sales clinic has been helpful. Good luck and good selling.